Hey class, I know we've gone over a lot of information here recently, so I'm going to go over one more time. I'm going to go over how to do animation in Photoshop. Now, this tutorial I'm putting together is under the assumption that you have already assembled all of your animated slides. You should have 4 or 5 of them. I know in Jeff's class, when we went over that in labs, we had 5, and in Russ's, we had 4 or 5. So the number is up to your professor. The steps that I'm about to show you will not change based on how many different pages you have to animate. So we're going to jump into this real quick. I've already done my layout, and the way I started my layout, and I'll show you what my layout looks like. I started with my end slide first, so this was my end slide. So this is going to be the end of my animation. And then I went backwards from there and reversed the process. I just wanted to know what it was going to look like at the end of it. And these are so that's the 4th slide for this example. I'm using 4. So I'm going to show you my other 3. So this is scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, and of course I've got scene 4 on screen right now. So I'm going to open these up and let you see them real quick. This is scene 3, this is scene 2, and this is scene 1. So definitely refer to Jeff and Russ how they want you to name your files. For my sake, I just did scenes 1, 2, and 3 because I don't need to add my name and class and all that on it. But you can kind of see the progression here of what this animation is going to look like now. Starting in reverse, this is what I knew I wanted to end up with. And then I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to happen with the tomato falling from the top to the bottom. And as it fell, it was going to bring in my text. So these are the 4 files that we're going to be working with. And I'm going to show you how to get them into the animation platform for Photoshop. Right now, all I'm doing is I'm just reducing the size of them so that I can kind of move them out of the way in my working area. So there's 4, 3, 2, and 1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a template that's the same size that I created these in. So I'm going to go to File, New, and I created these in a 16 by 2400 pixel 300 ppi format. So that's what I'm going to open. I'm going to hit Create, and that's going to open this for me. Just at this point, it's just a matter of dragging and dropping. So again, I'm going to start with the end in mind. I'm going to start with scene 4. I'm going to click it and then grab that layer and drag it into this document here. And then I'm going to go to scene 3. I'm going to grab this one and drag it into here. Then I'm going to grab scene 2. I'm going to drag it and drop it into here. And then scene 1, this is my opening scene. I'm going to drag it and drop it in here. So now I should have 4 layers or 5 layers on this. I can get rid of this background layer because I'm dealing with JPEG files. And my files that I've just imported are already white in the background. So now I have 4 layers here on the file that I'm going to animate. They are in order. So they are in order from bottom to top. I've got layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4. So remember that Photoshop, the top layer in your layer panels covers up the layer that's beneath it. So that's really important on this. It's not if you mess this up, it's not a real big deal. You can resort in your timeline, but it does make it easier if you have this in order with your last file being at the bottom of the stack and your first file or your first scene being at the top of the stack. So this is scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, scene 4. So now what we can do, we can close these out. We no longer need these. So we can close these files out. And then this is what we've got here. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to zoom out on this just a little bit just to give my timeline an area to open up in. So now at this point I'm ready to animate. I can go to Window and go to Timeline down here. So let me show you that again. It's Window, scroll down to Timeline, and when you click on Timeline, it's going to bring this bar up. Okay, some of y'all's bars might look skinnier than mine. They might be this big. I do a lot of animation in Photoshop, so I keep mine fairly large. There's 2 types of animations that you can do in Photoshop. If you see this drop-down window, you've got Create Video Timeline or Create Frame Animation. For this particular animation, we're going to do frame animation. The create video timeline, if for those of you who are already familiar with using Adobe Premiere, that's going to give you more of a timeline that you're familiar with, where you have your individual bit videos on different tracks. Frame animation is going to be completely different. It's going to give you thumbnails, and we're going to look at that right now. So click on frame animation, and then click here again on frame animation, and what it's going to do is it's going to give you this bar. Okay, as you see, we only have one layer in here. We have our beginning layer, which is layer 4. So now what you need to do is come over to this little area over here. So this area here on their timeline, and drop this window down. So click on that, it'll drop it down, and you're going to go and select make frames from layers. All right, so when you do this, it's going to import all 4 of your frames. All right, so here's what I was telling you earlier. So it did it backwards. All right, so it's easy to fix this. You just simply move your frames back over into the correct order. So now they're in the correct order. So that's an indication to me that I did these backwards over here on purpose, actually, but just for the sake of this, I did them backwards so that you would see how to fix them in your timeline if for some reason they come in loaded backwards. So you haven't really done anything. You just have to reorder them here, and you just reorder them by dragging them and clicking. You can drag them into any order that you want to, but this is the appropriate order. This is the descending order that I want. Now, if you look underneath each one of these, you see a seconds. You can drop this arrow down and choose different time frames, okay? So this right now there it's 0 seconds, so nothing would happen. So drop this down. I'm going to select 0.5, so half a second for the first three layers that I want to animate. And then on my last one, I'm going to want that to linger a little bit, so I'm going to select 2 seconds. So that's going to be 2 seconds, all right? So also down here, if you look at underneath your frames, you see this drop-down window here. This is forever. We only want to do it once or 3 times. There's other options. For this sake, we're going to do 3 times, so we're going to have it repeat itself 3 times. And then if you press play, you will see the animation play. Okay? So that was the first time, second time, and then the third time, and then it will stop. Okay? So once when you're happy with your frame animation, now we need to turn it into something that's usable on the internet. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to File, and actually you would decrease the size of this again. Follow along with the notes that Jeff and Russ has provided to you as for the correct format for social media that these animations need to be. For this, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and go into File, and I'm going to go to Export. I'm going to save for Web Legacy. So we're going to go here. I want the original. Again, refer to what Jeff and Russ have been telling you. So I'm going to do original. And then down here, I'm just going to hit save. And actually, I need to change it to a GIF. I want GIF or GIF, however you want to say it. I say GIF, so I'm going to change it to a GIF, and I'm just going to hit save. You need to make sure you know where it's going to. Save settings. I want to go to my desktop, hit OK. And then I'm going to hit save. Alright, so Photoshop's going to kick this out. So now here's my GIF, or GIF, whichever way you want to pronounce it. Now if you notice, if you double click on this, it's just going to give you an expanded view. It's not going to really do anything. To make sure that it's a working GIF, you just drag it down into your web browser. So I'm going to use Google Chrome. If I drag it into Google Chrome, it should animate in Google Chrome. And that's how you create and check an animation. Again, back to file names, I just left this as untitled 1. Refer to how you're supposed to name these files according to Jeff and Russ, and name them appropriately. And I just wanted to get that out and let you guys know how to do this. I hope that helps.